This video is going to show you how to create sketches for a non-representational sculpture, where I'm just focused on shapes and color and line. So I'm going to start with my photo, and my photo is of a cupcake, and this is my inspiration. So I'm going to start by looking at the different shapes that I see in this cupcake, and I'm breaking it down to very basic shapes. So I drew here, this is what you're going to start with first, is I drew a rectangle and then 3 skinny rectangles, and then I also drew a triangle. Those are the biggest, the most shapes that I see in this cupcake. You could add a couple more if you had some smaller rectangles that you wanted to add. And then I started arranging those shapes in different ways. So I started taking those shapes and thinking about how can I arrange them in a 3D way to create some sort of a sculpture. And so I started with, I added 2 rectangles here, and then I have these 3 rectangles at the top. Then in my next one, I started adding those triangles. So I have 2 triangles on the bottom, and then some rectangles on the top. This one I have 2 triangles and then rectangles on the top again. And then here I just kind of did some other different kinds of designs with similar shapes to what I have up here, but maybe adding a couple more triangles and making them smaller instead of just having 1 triangle. Then I can pick my favorite one, which is this one right here, and then I'm going to redraw that as a final sketch. And the only thing I added here and changed was the negative space. So I needed to have some negative space in my sculpture, which is where I shaded in these triangles here. And so I shaded that in, have my final sketch up with all the details that it needs, and then at the bottom, I drew out separately what kind of shapes I needed to cut out of paper or cardboard to create my sculpture. So I drew out these 2 triangles here and showed where the negative space is going to go. And then I drew out a rectangle, and I just said times 16 because I know that I will need 16 of them. And then I also shaded in that little spot on the inside to show where I'm going to have my negative space for my sculpture. And this is what's going to help you get started.